people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
They see me all the time. I'm at all the events. I'm this, I'm that. And they think, oh, Skye's there again. Yeah, I put myself there. I'm making sure I'm constantly in the eye of the boxing world. And it's draining. You don't, like, there's so many fighters that have this same attitude as Tiara. It's like, but you don't show up to the media days. You don't do the interviews when you're walking out the venue and you're tired and someone calls you and says, oh, can we quickly do 5 more minutes? I do it every single time. And I'm constantly working hard out of the gym to make sure that I'm constantly growing my profile, making sure that I'm staying relevant, making sure I'm constantly posting on social media and keeping people updated on what's going on in my life, in my career. And if that's me being spoon-fed, then keep feeding me with a spoon. Like, honestly.
That is Skye Nicholson weighing in on the value of self-promotion, that you can't just rely on a promoter to do it for you. Promoter's going to promote a show, promote a fight, but what happens in between fights is entirely up to the fighter and their management. Skye Nicholson has not been around as long as some other fighters, say a Chantel Cameron, but Skye Nicholson is a lot more talked about than a Chantel Cameron, in spite of not having as much time in spite of not being as accomplished. Chantel is a good example of doing the opposite.
Can I have a go at Chantel now?
It's just an interesting case study that Chantel Cameron has solid wins over solid fighters, a big win over Katie Taylor. She's very accomplished, former undisputed champion, but she is not as talked about as a Skye Nicholson because she doesn't make herself as talked about, as visible as a Skye Nicholson. For all of Chantel's virtues, she has no social media presence.
So in between fights, she just sort of disappears in spite of all of her accolades.
Whereas Skye Nicholson is more outspoken, often more visible, just like she said. She makes it a point to attend the fights and talk about the fights, not just her own and what she's got going on, that in a short amount of time, Skye Nicholson has made herself arguably more recognizable than, say, a Chantel Cameron, and some other fighters that have been around longer. That's intelligent.
Women's boxing has not yet caught up to men's boxing in terms of pay scale and profile, fan interest. There is a lot more work needs doing, and a fighter like Skye is doing it. It's a mistake to think that all the promotion has to come from the promoter when you're talking about radio spots, brand deals, sponsorships, and overall visibility. A fighter's digital footprint. It's very easy to fall through the cracks when you go silent in between fights. Skye Nicholson is a fighter that knows how to talk, knows how to present herself.
I got a soft spot for this kid because I admire her ambition, and I admire that she's unapologetic about it. Now campaigning as a super bantamweight, she's going to see action one more time before this year is out on the undercard of Diego Pacheco versus Kevin Lele Sajo, here stateside.
She's going to be fighting former champion Yuli Hangluna, which we've touched on at least once in passing. There are actually a lot of similarities between how Skye likes to fight and how Yuli Hang likes to fight. They both like to move, they both like to jab, they both like to counter, circling away from the opponent to create space. What separates them?
Experience on one end and physical dimensions on the other. Yuli Hang is a lot more experienced as a pro than Skye Nicholson, but Skye is somewhat taller, somewhat longer. Skye is a fighter that moved down to 122, whereas Yuli Hangluna is a fighter that moved up. Yuli Hangluna is naturally smaller.
So what happens when you got two long-range fighters, but one of those fighters is taller than the other, longer than the other? It forces the other to have to come forward, to have to step into their punches, because they're shorter.
I believe that will be the case when Yuli Hangluna meets Skye Nicholson. Yuli Hang is going to have to come forward and try to stalk Skye Nicholson, at which point Skye, because she's a bit taller and a bit longer, quick to pull the trigger, she'll pick her off, moving around and essentially beating her at her own game. I like Skye Nicholson to win a decision. I don't think she stops Yuli Hung Luna. Yuli Hung is a tough nut to crack. And she can crack. She can punch.
I actually think she punches harder than Skye Nicholson, even though Skye is bigger.
But I think Skye is going to out-hustle her. She's going to beat Yuli Hung Luna doing what Yuli Hung normally does to other fighters. Moving around, using the ring, using the jab, working off the counter, circling away the whole time, and drawing her opponent in. Skye Nicholson on points at the end of the year is how I see it.
Skye is the pick.
Men's junior middleweight news. Xander Zayas, Abbas Baraou are ready for challenge of Unification bout. Xander Zayas and Abbas Baraou haven't had to go too far to find each other throughout their careers. The junior middleweight champions have sparred numerous rounds together in South Florida. Now Zayas and Baraou will drop the headgear and sparring gloves for the biggest fight of their respective careers when they meet in a title unification bout on January 31st at El Coliseo de Puerto Rico in San Juan. Zayas enters the fight holding the WBO title while Baraou has the WBA. It's a very exciting fight for the both of us, Zayas said at the kickoff press conference in Puerto Rico this past Wednesday. It's a lot on the line for the both of us. Our first title defense to be for a unified championship. I feel like it's very special. Like he said, we're writing history.
I knew that Xander wanted to fight Abbas Baraou on the premise that a fight between them would be a unification match, but I honestly didn't expect this to come together so fast, least of all when Top Rank, who promotes Xander, is still between broadcasters. It was a pleasant surprise when this fight got announced, and that's why I wasn't expecting it.
I'm the man for the job, Baraou said. It's not the first time I'm doing this. I'm on a mission, and I'm willing to go anywhere to accomplish my dream and my goals. Coming to Puerto Rico to face Xander was an easy decision for me to make. It's a hard fight, a great challenge as well, and that's what I'm looking for. We're sitting here, both of us, writing history. How can you say no to that? The fight represents a homecoming for Zayas, 22-0, with 13 KOs, who was born in San Juan and has only fought on his home island once, in 2020. Zayas won the vacant WBO title with a one-sided unanimous decision win over Jorge Garcia this past July at the theater in Madison Square Garden in New York. The win made Zayas, 23, the youngest reigning champion in boxing. At the time, after winning the title, Zayas was hopeful that his first title defense would be in Puerto Rico. Instead, he'll get even more than what he hoped for in facing Baraou. It's an honor to represent where I'm from, to represent my people, to represent Puerto Rico, and to put the pride of the island where it belongs. At the top, he said, if you can dream it, you can do it. That's my message to them. We come from the same place, and there's nothing we can't do if we put in the work, and we put the dedication in.
This fight coming together so fast communicates the seriousness of Xander Zayas' convictions, though not only that, to some degree it came together because Matchroom was asleep at the wheel. That if Matchroom would have acted faster, they would have secured the Baraou fight for Boots, but because they didn't, that made him available for Zandor. The moment that Boots became WBA interim champion not that long ago, Abbas Baraou should have been at the forefront of Eddie Hearns' mind and their priority list. If he's the full champion and Boots has got the interim, you've got to make it your business to get in contact with that guy and secure him for Boots. They didn't do that.
Now Baraou's going into Puerto Rico, and he's no stranger to going into enemy territory, including his win over Ioannis Telez. And he's more than ready to do it again with Zayas. Everywhere I look, I get motivated, Baraou said. I come here, I see the arena, and it's gonna be full of Puerto Ricans. I'm fully prepared for that. I can't wait for fight night. It's like music to my ears.
As stated, Zayas versus Baraou coming together so quickly, at least in part, is because Matchroom didn't do more to bring Baraou to their side of things. It was widely reported that Abbas Baraou had separated from Wasserman, who had been promoting him for a long time. So he's become available, he's a free agent, and they must have been focused on something else.
A Virgil Ortiz fight, perhaps?
Because they let Abbas Baraou slip away, and now Xander's gonna fight him, where Abbas Baraou would have been the ideal opponent for Boots Ennis. Stylistically, he's a pressure guy. Boots Ennis eats up pressure guys that try to stand in front of him.
And he's got a belt. He's full WBA champion. So, as stated, the moment that Boots became WBA interim champion, they should have made it their business to start talking to Abbas Baraou, secure Abbas Baraou, that you can't bank on the Virgil Ortiz fight happening, but you ended up spending more time on that you should have spent on this, because now the Virgil Ortiz fight isn't happening, and I know why they did it, because Virgil's got more of a profile than Abbas Baraou, even though he doesn't have a belt.
Because fiscally, a fight with Virgil is bigger than a fight with Abbas Baraou, but that's only if you can make the fight, and as you can see, the fight isn't made. It's not about to be made. Virgil's team are sandbagging it, so Boots is coming up short of options.
You let Baraou get away. Now you can only hope to get the winner of Bakram Murtazaliev versus Josh Kelly for the IBF title, except the IBF's got that rehydration cap.
I don't think Boots really wants to be subject to that again, but that's the only available champion, or it will be.
Back over to Xander and Abbas Baraou, their fight set to go down at the very end of January. Rumor has it that another major fight is happening that same weekend, that same day. The reported Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson fight.
Supposed to be going down in New York. Supposed to be a pay-per-view.
Where we don't know what Zayas versus Baraou is going to be. Is that going to be billed as a pay-per-view too? Where are we supposed to watch this? Because no broadcast information has been made available, and Top Rank are still between broadcast partners. Are they saving that news for later? Who's going to air this fight?
I don't think they should bill it as a pay-per-view.
In a very general sense, it shouldn't be, but least of all, if there's another pay-per-view happening that same day with two fighters that have more of a profile, one event would end up cannibalizing the other. The only way that you can offset that is to not bill it as a pay-per-view. For many, it would then become the cheaper alternative, since boxing fans in America are sick of all these pay-per-views.
Top Rank is not as quick to pull the trigger on billing a fight as a pay-per-view as some other promoters. Their entire time on ESPN, they really didn't do that many pay-per-views, and I don't know that this is going to be a pay-per-view.
And I hope that it isn't. I hope that Top Rank is holding off on announcing the broadcast info for this fight, because that info will be who their next broadcast partner is. Would be less than encouraging if they start off next year without a new broadcast partner to replace ESPN.
Big shoes to fill.
But it's gotta mean something that they were able to put this fight together so quickly between their champion, Xander Zayas, and Abbas Baraou. It's not your run-of-the-mill fight. It's a unification match between two champions.
So as stated, maybe Top Rank has some big news to announce along with the broadcast info for this fight. We'll see.
Men's heavyweight news. Eddie Hearn is now saying everyone jumped the gun about Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, which is what I figured, and which is why I wasn't as quick to react to the story as some other people. Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, described reports of the heavyweight nearing an agreement to fight Jake Paul as having jumped the gun. The 28-year-old Paul is pursuing a new opponent after the cancellation of his exhibition with Gervonta Davis, scheduled for November 14th, following a civil lawsuit that was filed against Davis by his ex-girlfriend, Courtney Russell, accusing him of battery, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He also left the toilet seat up.
For what?
It was widely reported on Wednesday that Anthony Joshua, 36, is on course to be installed as Davis's replacement for a later date. However, Joshua considered in contention to, unusually, feature on the undercard of the light heavyweight contest between his fellow Britons, Craig Richards and Dan Aziz in Ghana on December 20th. According to Hearn, he already has a big fight planned for February, which would likely rule him out of fighting Jake Paul before the conclusion of 2025.
Big fight. Makes for a big fight with Anthony Joshua. Rematch with Joseph Parker, perhaps? Rematch with Daniel Dubois?
The promoter of Matchroom also said they had previously been considering only a low-key fight before then. Everyone jumped the gun last night, Hearn told the BBC. There has been some conversations. Our focus is on the next year. We have a big fight planned for February, and a big fight hopefully against Tyson Fury in the summer. We may run out this year. We were just going to have a low-key fight somewhere. If that's go and destroy the run of Mr. Paul and make several tens of millions of dollars in the process, maybe. Nothing's confirmed yet.
I'll be honest that I don't know how much time I want to give this story because I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical that they could put together a fight this size together in such a limited time frame. I believe that a fight with Anthony would be many times bigger than what Jake had planned with Gervonta. Gervonta is not an international superstar.
Anthony Joshua is. Career blemishes aside, Anthony's generated way more money, made way more money from boxing than Gervonta Davis. And a big part of why is he's an international superstar, a brand ambassador. He's been on the Forbes list, the top 5 earning boxers.
Anthony's been on there a couple of times, couple of years, where Gervonta Davis ain't been on there once. So if you're replacing Gervonta with Anthony Joshua, I think that actually makes for a bigger fight because Anthony is international and Gervonta is not.
And a fight with Anthony Joshua is not interpreted as being a novelty act, a circus act. You know, fighting Gervonta Davis, he's a lightweight. You're a cruiser. People aren't going to take that seriously, and no commission would officially sanction it. That's why they came up with some kind of special category for it.
Hybrid Pro, which to a lot of people just sounded like a fancy way of saying exhibition.
Whereas the commission may not have any aversion to sanctioning Joshua versus Jake because, well, that's a cruiser versus a heavy. Perfectly normal. No need for the lofty designation. Though that's precisely the reason I'm skeptical. That's precisely the reason I don't actually expect this to happen. This ain't a circus fight like what Jake was about to do with Gervonta. If you shared a ring with Anthony Joshua, it's not because Anthony needs money.
He's got plenty of that. He's got more of that than Jake.
That he wouldn't sign on for this fight unless it were a fight, an actual fight. He's not in there to do the waltz with you, and he's not going to allow you to damage his reputation with whatever it is you've got going on, whatever kind of setup it is. Anthony signs on to fight you. It's because he's going to fight you, and if he fights you, he's going to hurt you.
But Jake, this would be a suicide mission. Going from fighting a lightweight in Gervonta Davis to a full-blown former heavyweight champion.
2-time unified champion, still young enough to kick your ass up and down the ring. I've got serious reservations about whether or not this is going to happen, which is why I'm mitigating how much time I give this story. But on the face of it, do I think a fight with Anthony is bigger than a fight with Gervonta would have been? Oh yeah, because Anthony's international and Gervonta is very much local.
Brits ain't gonna stay up till the wee hours of the morning for Gervonta versus Jake, but Anthony? I think they would stay up for that on the premise that Anthony can seriously hurt this guy. That if Jake signs on for this thing, he just signed his own death warrant.
It's a suicide mission for Jake.
Though as stated, Eddie Hearn says that the journos and all the media people jumped the gun when it comes to this fight, and that leads me to believe it's not going to happen, folks. Something like this, to put it together in a matter of weeks, I don't see it. And that's not even addressing the danger of it.
The logistics alone make me skeptical, but the actual proposition that Jake would fight this guy, yeah, I don't think so. It's much ado about nothing. In my humble opinion, it is not gonna happen.